Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Apolla's Odyssey. I'm your host, Apolla Asteria, and tonight I am doing a show on cymatics. I wanted to kind of connect the dots with different things I've experienced with, cymatics and the frequencies of the planets or galactic cymatics, and actually how it all could correlate with color. So I'm just going to be kind of diving into some actually really intense astrophysical topics. And it's just kind of, trying to connect some dots. Sometimes during shows, actually a lot will come up for me like while I'm live going through things with you all. And then what you all comment kind of helps me put things together. And I like going on these journeys with things while I'm on the live show. And I know I said I wasn't going to be going live during the holidays, but I am actually stuck in LA because of the bomb cyclone. I was unable to make it out to the Midwest, and I was supposed to be meeting Laura Eisenhower to go to Sound Tribe Sector 9 in Colorado, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get that to work out either for the New Year. So I am here doing a show, which is actually good because I wasn't able to do the show the last week. So I hope you're all having a great holiday season. I actually, because I wasn't able to go see my family, and a lot of people in LA were kind of in the same boat. A lot of people come to LA from wherever to be in the entertainment industry, like myself, and they were also unable to make it home for the holidays because of these crazy weather shenanigans. So I actually threw a party for all my friends that were stuck here. We had a really good time on Christmas. Really good time. So I hope you're all enjoying your holidays. I hope you're not in the negative 45-degree weather like my family is, or most of the country besides California, Southern California. But yeah, it's good to be here and good to be able to do a show. Since I'm here, I actually plan on, since I wasn't able to get my Shaman Spears collection out before the new year, um, and that's going to take a little bit longer to finish. I actually plan on making a candle collection of New Year's intention candles. I don't have them made or up on my site yet, but I plan on having those up on my site before New Year's. I might make them like tomorrow. I want to make like some intention candles that have like crystals in them and essential oils, and basically it'd be like a kind of way that you can like set an intention, do a little ceremony for yourself on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve or after the new year. So definitely watch for that on my site because I plan to, make those maybe tomorrow, get them up either tomorrow evening or the next day, hopefully before New Year. Uh so yeah. And yeah, so I hope you're all having a great holidays. And going back through the comments here, the real deal here says we need another Apolla and Carrie Cassie collaboration. I would love that. Definitely should do that. And I don't know if any of you have actually seen the collaboration I did with her on her show, which is on Rumble or on the Project Camelot portal. But that was a really intense show. I shared my Hollywood story that I haven't really shared very much. So definitely look into that because that was very interesting. And yeah, so getting started here, I also filmed something with for third phase of moon last night, so maybe I don't know if that's coming out today or tomorrow or what the deal with that is, but that should be interesting. Watch out for that on third phase of moon. I also have a project coming out with them. I don't know if I can talk about it yet. Maybe I can mention it a little bit, but I kind of did a movie with them. Still in the process of filming, but we filmed some of it before the holidays, and it's turning out pretty awesome, just gonna say. So, stay tuned for that. That's gonna be really cool. I haven't been able to do the work I normally do in the entertainment industry lately because I don't have all the jabs, and hopefully they let go of that soon. I'm really hoping. I have a feeling, I don't know, maybe they'll let go of that soon and I can officially work in entertainment here more. But it was nice to be able to do a project with my friends, which is honestly probably way more awesome anyway than working in the usual entertainment industry scene here. So, but yeah, hoping the industry will let go of those soon. And those mandates, and I can work again. I have a feeling that may happen this year. I think the mandate was supposed to last till 2023, so we'll see what happens with that. That would be really cool. Just putting that out there. I'd love to be able to work again in my usual avenue of work. And a lot of people, I've had a lot of talk about a lot of people mentioning to me that like YouTube is like definitely shadow banning me. It's pretty obvious, just from what people have told me and everything. So, you know, I was hoping, because I wasn't able to work in the entertainment industry anymore because of what went down, that I could switch to YouTube and do that. But it's been a little difficult. I'm wondering if maybe, hopefully I can work on some other platforms that might do better. I don't know. We're gonna see. I have a lot of plans for the new year, and of course I have a lot of conferences set up. In March I'm going to be doing one in Mount Shasta again, which I'll pull up the information for that on my next show. I'm going to be doing a conference in Glastonbury, Portal to Ascension, in August. That's going to be wild. um Conscious Live Expo, I do that every year. Unfortunately, I didn't really think that I would be able to do it this year. um so I didn't pay, like, I didn't get everything squared away on time, so I wasn't able to get a speaker spot, but I will be there with my spears. And then let me see here. I believe I should be at the Serpent Mountain event on the spring equinox, I think it is. And what else is coming up this year? An Alien Con. I'll be at Alien Con with my shaman spears. And Alien Con is really cool because, it's all the people from like Ancient Aliens, but then they'll have people from like Lost in Space, like David Duchovny, people like that. So that's always a good time. Oh, hello to Alien Girl. Good to see you on here. I still need to do a show with you soon. I'm so sorry. I have so many interviews that like I had set up with different people, and my schedule has been so all over the place. Um right lately I've been having to travel for my work. So it's been hard because a lot of times like gigs will come up last minute and then I have to leave town and I have to like cancel interviews that I had scheduled. So I've been kind of wary about scheduling interviews because I don't want to look bad and unprofessional canceling them last minute. And I have so many people that I told I was going to interview and that I've had lined up. I have a lot of authors that have given me their books to read, some of which I've already read, some of them I still need to read. And I need to interview all these people too. So I'm hoping, I just want to put that out there that hopefully this year I can generate some revenue in different ways that will keep me home more, so that I can like really you know, get in creative mode and do more work from home. For some reason, I don't know what it is, the last couple years for me have been crazy. I've just been traveling all over the place. I've barely been home. And it's been hard for me to work on my creative work. So I'm hoping that I can do more of that this year. And if the entertainment industry lets go of the mandates, then I'll be able to stay in town and work more, which would be really amazing. Before all that, I was normally on set every day doing work. So I'm hoping things will change and that can all work out. That'd be so amazing. But in the meantime, if you want to support me, and help me out with all this and keeping my show going and, you know, helping me go on adventures to go to different places and research more. Because I'm always doing my ancient aliens adventures. You can go over to shamanspears.com and check out my art, which are uniquely handcrafted energy channeling devices, which I invented myself. They're all for the purpose of channeling energy. They're all the shaman spears are made out of bamboo. The bamboo is hollow, so I fill them with copper coils, crystals, magnets, and sand I collect from sacred places around the world down the insides. They're all painted with crop circles that have been found around the world. And I also have other orgonite creations on my site and other random art stuff. So definitely go check that out. It's the best way to really help support me in my show. So again, that's at shamanspears.com. And that is actually going across the ticker at the bottom of the screen. So if you want to check that out, that is going across the ticker right there at the bottom of the screen. So much appreciated. And like I said, I plan on making or I will. It's all about word editing. I am going to be making an intention candle collection for the new year with crystals and Egyptian lotuses and things like that in it. So I don't have that up yet, but I'm going to have those up, and I plan to have those up online probably tomorrow night or the next day, and hopefully you can all get those if you watch out for it. Get those for the new year and set your intention for the new year. Sorry, I'm feeling a little distracted. There's like weird noises in my house tonight. I don't know why. Really weird. Okay. So, tonight's show, like I said, I am getting into cymatics sound technology, and I want to kind of start it with the galactic cymatics. Or first, maybe I'll start with cymatics, what they are, in case you don't know. I'm sure a lot of you probably already know, but I'm going to kind of cover that, and then I'm going to get into galactic cymatics, and then I'm going to get into possible sound technology that ancient civilizations or ET civilizations may have used in the past or brought here in the past. Okay, so getting started with this, I have a lot of different articles pulled up. Oh, I guess before I start, I should let you all know that, in case you don't know this already, I was a part of a 432 hertz frequency music group, the Siren, and we did a lot of work with performing all our music in 432 hertz frequency. I was a guitarist for it, and it was basically like 432 hertz frequency is um, all ancient instruments were tuned to 432 hertz frequency. It's a harmonic frequency, and during so basically, if you look at cymatics, if you look at the geometric patterns, which I'm going to show you a little bit later, of how uh, sand or water moves with a frequency, uh, blasted into it. 432 hertz frequency makes these beautiful shapes and patterns, which is basically a concert A tuning. Um, but 440 hertz, which is the modern concert A tuning, does not make patterns and shapes because it's a disharmonic frequency. And so this is really important because if you think about it, think about how that's affecting the water in your bodies. Everything you listen to on the radio now is in 440 hertz frequency, which is a disharmonic frequency. So when you're driving around listening to the radio, you're hearing these frequencies that are not good for you. Renee Cruz here just commented sound crop circles. That was something that's coming up in my research for tonight's show. And I thought about getting into that, but I didn't because I think I want to do my next show on crop circles. So we'll get into that later. Thanks for mentioning that. But there is a connection with cymatics and crop circles, definitely. So, and the reason why this has changed, this is really odd, but during the Nazi regime, actually, the Prime Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, changed the standard 432 hertz concert A tuning from 432 hertz to 440 hertz, which is the disharmonic frequency. So that's why that's why it was changed. And it's like really odd. Like there's obviously a weird propaganda like program to make sure that we are not listening to harmonic frequencies. And why would that be? Really weird. So okay, let's get started with this here. Um, and when I used to perform at different events, a lot of times we would actually go on and talk about this before performing. The lead singer of the group would. So kind of interesting. So I want to just get into some general things about somatics, I think, first, before getting into more with all this. Okay. Okay, so this is from Mont Mag, Somatics, Decoding the Origins of Life Through Sound Vibrations. After a lifetime of studying matter, Max Carl Ernst Ludwig Planck, one of the pioneers of quantum theories and the receiver of the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1918, discovered that the subject he had so painstakingly studied his entire life did not exist. He told his audience in Florence that all matter originates and exists only by virtue of force, which brings the particles of an atom to vibration and holds the most minute solar system of the atom together. This is where somatics comes in. Somatics is a way of studying vibration. It is a process that allows us to visualize sound and patterns that it creates. Somatics is still an evolving subject, but one of its current champions, Evan Grant, explains in his TED Talks its possibilities are immense. As well as helping us to discover the language of dolphins by studying the images of the sounds that they emit, somatics can bring the disciplines of art, science, mathematics, music, and spirituality together. Potentially, it can even give us insights into how our universe came into existence. Ever heard of sacred geometry? This field of study is concerned with the geometrical patterns and mathematical equations found in nature and inside each and every one of us. For example, the structure of a nautilus shell follows the same mathematical sequence that the galaxies do, or the Fibonacci sequence. This is just a snippet into sacred geometry, but it suggests that the entire universe is built upon geometrical patterns. And these patterns are manifestations of different sound vibrations. And here's an example of the shell here. And pine cones. Pine cones come out with the Fibonacci spiral in many directions outwards, as you can see here, that when you look at the bottom of a pine cone. Hans Jenny, the Swiss physician who came up with the term somatics, believed that all matter found on Earth owed its existence to sound. In the 1960s, he conducted a somatic video experiment called Bringing Matter to Life with Sound that he used to visually demonstrate the effect that sound has on matter. He invited his viewers to picture this effect on a grand scale as the basis for the formation of consonants and everything we see around us. While his ideas may stretch the imagination, there are ancient they are as ancient as civilization itself. Various religious texts have also alluded to the creation of the world to the effects of sound. The opening verse of John's Gospel in the New Testament Bible reads, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God." Hinduism also draws parallels between sound and creation with the sacred mantra Om. Pronounced properly, it actually consists of three syllables, A-U-M. According to the ancient Hindu texts, Asteria Brahmana, these three syllables correspond to the three stages of cosmic creation. And here are the symbols of those there. And if you might recognize this symbol here, the Sri Yantra, behind my shaman spears symbol. I actually use that in my symbol in my spears because that kind of came to me when I didn't know what it was. I just kind of saw it in a vision and then I looked it up and found out what it was. Pretty interesting. So believe it as you will, but if there is even a slight chance that the universe came into existence and still evolves thanks to sound vibrations, can we use the knowledge to alter our subjective reality? Years ago, Einstein came up with the idea that if you amplify the frequency, the structure of matter will change. Popular motivational speakers and best selling self help authors like Gabby Bernstein and Sonia Riccati advocate that whenever you raise your own vibrational frequency, you will see positive changes in your own reality. According to them, music is a great way to amplify your frequency. But what kind of music should you listen to in order to live a better life now? Renowned meditation coach Khurshid Bhatiwala, a postgrad in mathematics and IT who eventually devoted his life to meditation, believes that vibration that the mantra Om creates in your body can act as a tool to balance your creative, pragmatic, and transformative energies. Some sources propose that the frequency of Om is the same frequency as the Earth's rotation around its own axis. By chanting this mantra, we can allegedly bring ourselves in sync with the various elements found in the universe and nature. We just plug an Om mantra into our headphones and surrender to spiritual and physical alignment. Sounds like a dream cure in our hectic world, but is this idea scientifically founded? In 1998, study by Tells et al. Compared the lowered heart rate and the respiratory rate, the two indicators of relaxation, in two groups over 3 sessions. One was told to chant the mantra Om, while the other chanted a neutral word one. The study concluded that both groups displayed pretty equal indicators of relaxation. The only slight difference that the Om group displayed was a reduced skin resistance that suggests a subtle change in the mental state. According to the study, it does not help to chant a mantra, but it can be a mantra of your own choosing. The Japanese photographer and researcher Masuro Emoto conducted some pretty cool experiments too. He froze water and observed them in a microscope. He said some positively loaded words to water. Yes, he spoke to the water, and some negatively loaded ones. He observed the differences in the formation of the water crystals and took photos of these. He found that when he said words like love or thank you, the water crystals formed harmonious shapes that were pleasing to the eye. When he said things like I hate you, he found that disharmonious and chaotic shapes appeared. Although the validity of his photographs has come under some scrutiny, they have created a wide range of interest. It's worth noting, at least, that words and the sounds they emit could have an effect on your brain and body. And here's examples of that there. So the aforementioned Hans Jenny claim that at every level, subtle, physical, subtle, and casual, there are invisible patterns of unity and oneness interconnecting all the worlds. Some people claim that we can use specific sound frequencies to fine tune ourselves to these and more in sync with the flow of the universe. When you listen to any physical or musical piece, it's likely to be tuned to the standardized A4 440 hertz frequency that was set by the American Federation of Musicians. It became the worldwide ISO 16 standard in 1953, as I mentioned earlier. However, some sources claim that this frequency is actually suppressive to our nature and does not harmonize with the sound vibration of the universe. Composers like Giuseppe Verdi tuned his masterpieces to A4 432 hertz frequency and actively opposed the standardization of 440 hertz. In Mozart's time, there were no standardized pitch, so the musical pieces would have sounded differently from place to place. However, he is believed to have performed and written his masterpieces to a frequently only slightly lower than 432 hertz. If you want to investigate the sound difference for yourself, take a look at the Cymatic soundscape video by the sound healer George of the LA Jungle. Spoiler alert, he found no difference in the geometrical patterns that the two frequencies create. Since the difference is only 8 hertz, that may not be surprising, but what happens if you listen to 528 hertz music, otherwise known as the frequency of love? Um, So this scientist firmly believes that whenever you feel love, you are vibrating to the frequency of 528 hertz. 528 hertz is also one of the six solfeggio harmonics thought to have been used in sacred music to impart spiritual blessings when sung in harmony. According to Horowitz, 528 hertz has healing qualities. And although his research may sound a bit kooky, it's worth giving it a go. So next time you're stressed out at work, try putting on your headphones and listening to some 528 hertz soundscapes. Okay, so and let me just go back to the comments here. See what you guys are saying about all this. Bob Jean here says the Dogon tribe knew. He says at Sirius, the pyramid has a hole pointing at it for telepathic communication. Interesting. Um, okay, so we have people in here mentioning the Sirius connection. Which, yeah, I definitely feel there's something with that to that. So moving on here, I want to show a little bit more covering this before we move on to the next part of this. Okay, and so this shows a little bit more of what these frequencies look like. So, um, Cymatics demonstrates vividly how sound influences matter and molecular structure. Water being a strong conductor for sound, imagine how sound affects your inner workings and how can it assist arranging dissonance or disease into patterns of a natural state of coherence. So, semantics is the generic term for the field of science, which we just talked about. The word semantics derives from Greek kuma, meaning billow or wave, to describe the periodic effects of the sound and vibration on matter. So, I'm just going through here to see if there isn't something I already talked about. And here's like, some of the more previous experiments of this with the sound plates. And here's more examples of that here with some of the original tests of this. Okay, so I'm gonna play a few of these videos here so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. I'm just gonna skip to different parts in this video. That's some alien stuff right there, let me tell you. Okay, here's another example of this. Mm. And I'm gonna I guess I'm should go ahead and mute that just in case. I don't wanna get copyrighted. I don't know if that's music that will get me copyrighted here, so But look, so this is the experiment on water with it. Really fascinating. And this is all, of course, in harmonic frequencies. This is a sound over a plate with a frequency put up through it. Okay, so yeah, I wish I could play the sound there, but I just don't want to, um, get flagged. So let me see here. So these are obviously examples of how these different frequencies are causing these patterns. And I noticed some of you here, this is probably elementary. So I want to get into more. I promise I'll get into more here. This is just a little bit of a background. So going back to look at the comments here, Jazer said patterns in resonation. Okay, so let's move on to something else here. Okay, so I want to talk about, like I said, I want to get into astrophysics and cymatics, the connection between that. But okay, first let me share this. This is just something you might want to explore on your own time, but I found this really fascinating, and this is a whole other thing on its own. But basically, here on Superpower Wiki, it talks about basically how you can use semantics to manipulate the universe and the different associations between it. And so this is really interesting because when you think about this and you think about how the universe was created by sound or frequency, obviously all these experiments just showed it. What else can we use sound and frequency to manipulate the universe on our own? And what would that mean? And is that dangerous? So let's look at that here. And so these are just some associations with that you can look into in your own time. And that is cosmic energy manipulation, frequency manipulation, matter manipulation, universe destruction. By amplifying the intensity of somatic sound and frequencies on a universal scale, which could cause the structure of the universe to fall apart. Reality warping, space time distortion by using somatic sound and frequencies to bend the fabric of space time itself on a universal scale. So that's interesting when it comes to space travel. So space time destruction by increasing the vibrational energy within the somatic sound waves, in which will affect the fabric of space time, causing it to oscillate violently and disintegrate, and vibration manipulation. So those are just, maybe I might get back to that a little bit later. So I'll leave that up, but something to think about. So when it comes to, so now I want to get into astrophysics and how it relates to cymatics. So, cymatics research in astrophysics. Wherever sound and matter interact, there is always a tendency towards structure and form. And this somatic principle applies across all scales, even to the birth of the universe. According to theory, the most potent force following the Big Bang was sound. Introduction. Astroseismologists study the sonic signatures of stars not as sound per se, but as tiny modulations in the starlight caused by high energy collisions within the star's atomic furnace. The collisions create sonic oscillations within the sphere of the star. The star's twinkling modulations can be collected by telescope, then sonified, made audible by a computer program, and injected into the cymoscope instrument to make the sonic signature of the star visible. As you'll read in the following article, following a short discussion of a spiritual tradition of sound as a creative principle of all that is, and the scientific perspective concerning the theory of how sound structured the early universe. A short section describes John Stuart Reid's hypothesis concerning the giant hexagon on Saturn's North Pole was formed by sound. The last section focuses on the 2012 Star Sound expedition at Smithsonian Institute, in which we were made visible in video mode the sonic signature or songs of several stars, including the sun. So, the spiritual tradition of sound as a creative principle. And I mentioned this earlier, but as per St. John's Gospel, um, in the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He existed in the beginning with God, and God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. The Word gave life to everything that was created, and life brought light to everyone. The light shines in darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. And so that associates sound also with light, which is what I want to get into a little later. So St. John's Gospel is not an isolated case from ancient history in which a divine source is identified as the creative principle of the universe. In the Vedic Brahmanism tradition in northern India, the theme is strikingly similar to St. John's Gospel. In the beginning was Brahman, with whom was Vak, the word. And the word is Brahman. By that Vak word, he created all things whatsoever. Another example is that of the Greek logos, a term that is interchangeable with the word and refers to the organizing principle of the universe. The Greek logos is similar to the Hebrew concept of wisdom being Yahweh's companion and helper in creation. The Jewish philosopher Philo merged these two themes of Greek and Jewish philosophy in his metaphysical musings, describing the logos as the active intermediary between God and the material world. In other words, Philo's view of the logos being not God per se, but rather an instrument being used by God. He sought to retain the distinctiveness of God so much so that God's only way of reaching into time, space, and matter was through the logos. Surprisingly, the origin of this Greek, Jewish, and Vedic Brahmanism concept of God speaking the universe into existence lies, as in many aspects of theology, with the ancient Egyptians. In 1805, an ancestor of Princess Diana, the second Earl Spencer, gifted an ancient Egyptian stone to the British Museum, where it remains to this day. The Shabako stone, commissioned by Pharaoh Shabako, is considered by Egyptologists to be the most important Egyptian text, with notable exception of the Rosetta Stone, from which all hieroglyphs were translated. The Shabako stone tells of the god Ta, the cosmic architect who created light and the entire cosmos simply by uttering words. Predating the Old and New Testament by hundreds and possibly thousands of years, lines 56 through 57 of the ancient Shabako stone text state, "Lo, every word of God came into being through the thoughts of mind and the command on the tongue." Thus, Ta was believed to be creator of all, regarding the importance of the inscribed text. One of the most important documents of the entire Egyptian literature in its impact was so fundamental that its effect and influence on Egyptian religious thought remained constant until the end of the Egyptian religion, unparalleled in the history of the ancient Orient as far as cosmogonic signification. It concerned its traveled from century to century, from one theological system to another, becoming a universal theological theme. And here is that text there. The scientific perspective, how sound structured the early universe. In recent years, a growing body of scientific research has been validating ancient traditions by indicating that sound had a structuring effect on the early universe. The theory is based on the concept of primeval atom, proposed by Belgian Catholic priest, astronomer, mathematician, and physics professor Georges Lemaitre, who first theorized the expansion of the universe. His primeval atom theory was given the novel term Big Bang. And so I'm going to kind of skip through this here and see what we can move to here with all this. Okay, so studies have shown that galaxies are not distributed randomly throughout the universe, but in organized clusters. An example of this fact is discussed in a paper titled The Egg Carton Universe, in which authors Batoner and Florido demonstrate the superclusters and voids that their theoretical octahedral structure was matched by their observations. The graphic below illustrates the egg carton structure of the particular region of the universe they studied. Here is that there. And considering the structure of the universe as an egg carton. In another study by Broadhurst et al., the structure has been likened to a three-dimensional chessboard. As the extreme density of matter diminished, so too did the structuring effects of sound. However, according to Eisenstein and Bennett of the University of Arizona, relic imprints of primordial sound in the microwave background in the distribution of galaxies have contributed to an extraordinarily detailed history of the universe. In their article, Cosmic Sound Waves Rule, they commented, relativistic sound waves raced through the hot plasma that filled the universe for its first 380,000 years. That left an imprint that is still discernible in the cosmic microwave background and also in the large scale distribution of galaxies. Measurements of the sound waves manifested in the CMB, coupled with a detailed understanding of the physics of sounds in the plasma epoch, provide the foundation of our standard model of cosmology. In addition, astrophysics is revealing that sound has a structuring effect in the early universe, the imprint of which remains visible today in the galaxies in the way that galaxies are grouped. But the sound also has a structuring effect today at the planetary scale, as John Stuart Reid's hypothesis explains concerning the giant hexagon that has manifested on the clouds of Saturn's North Pole. And so here his theory on that here. A massive eruptive event, possibly a giant geyser, sends a continuous stream of extremely low frequency sonic energy toward Saturn's upper atmosphere, propagating as an ever expanding bubble shaped emanation. Traveling through the outer layers of the atmosphere in the region of the methane and helium clouds, the sonic bubble reaches the palisade across after a journey time of several hours. The palisade is a circular region of high speed winds that acts as a boundary condition to the bubble, reflecting it back toward the epicenter. And so now I just want to get into, and there is more to that, but I want to skip over to the frequencies that are actually coming from the different planets. Um, So before I show you that, I want to share with you. So this musician actually took the frequencies that are emanated from the different planets and created a song of it, which I'm not going to play because I don't want a copyright issue. But I will read this to you real quick on how he actually went about doing this. So Alba Mundi, the sound of the planets. The Earth and each of the planets of the solar system revolving around the sun makes a musical note, so low it cannot be heard by the human ear. If we imagine a piano keyboard without limitation, the sound of the Earth is a C sharp. Placed, if we imagine a piano keyboard, or placed 33 octaves above the middle C, about 4.7 meters left of the piano bench. The song Alba Mundi is composed in the key of the earth and the harmony of the track evolves by using the 9 notes of the planet's orbit frequency. Mercury, the closest planet to the Sun, plays a C sharp with its orbit. The orbit of Venus runs the note A, and the sequence goes on with the Earth C sharp, Mars D, Jupiter F sharp, Saturn D, Uranus G sharp, Neptune G sharp, and Pluto C sharp. At the end of the piece, the final crescendo, you can listen to the sound of the solar system, accelerated by more than 68 billion times in order to be audible to the human ear. The recording of the piece Alba Mundi was mastered by Alex Wharton, who has worked for Coldplay, Bjork, Gorillaz, and the Abbey Road Studios in London, the historic recording studios where the Beatles and Pink Floyd albums were produced. And if you look into research, I've heard that apparently Pink Floyd actually had most of their music in 432 hertz frequency. I'm not entirely sure if that's true or not. Um, and so he is quoted here. I've always found the idea of being able to hear the notes played by the planets with their rotation around the sun fascinating. These fluctuations are not perceptible to the human ear due to their very low frequency and vacuum environment that does not allow the decimation, but it's always musical notes according to rigorous mathematical formulae. Since the time of Kepler, many pieces on the planets have been written. Archimedes in ancient Greece associated the musical intervals with the wandering stars. But where mathematics and astronomy are applied with their physical laws, musical aesthetics and beauty disappeared. So many authors, as in Gustav Holst's Planets, preferred to describe the planets musically according to the mythological representation. Mars as the god of war, Venus the goddess of beauty, Jupiter as the father of the gods with his majesty, and so on. What I still have not been able to listen to was a composition on the planets that is rooted on solid mathematical foundations, but was the same time structured like a nice piece of music. And he goes on to say, and this is what that would look like. He goes on to say, I compose Alba Mundi by creating the harmony of the 9 notes made by the planets. At the end of the piece, I wanted to insert the cold sound of the solar system accelerated by the speed so as to be audible to the human ear. The strange hissing sound, which remains highlighted at the end of the final crescendo, is the sound of the solar system accelerated more than 68 billion times. 36 octaves more acute, so as to be listenable. In practical terms, every second of sound we hear, the end of Alba Mundi corresponds to 2,177 years of life in the solar system. The keyboard depicted on the top of the figure is a hypothetical keyboard of 12 octaves where the oscillation frequencies of the planets can be placed. In order to arrive at audible frequencies, we would roughly triple the extent of this keyboard as shown at the bottom of the picture, and then finally move closer to a grand piano itself. And so here's a chart of what that all would look like. And so I can go on here, but Um, definitely look into that if you want to hear that. That is Alba Mundi, Sound of the Planets. I would like to play it here, but I just don't want to get copyrighted. So, okay. Now I want to show you all the what the frequencies of the different planets look like. This is really fascinating. Okay, so that's Earth. Um, this is Uranus. That would be the rings of Uranus. This is Neptune. Then here we move on to Saturn. This is Saturn's rings. Ominous. Io, I think that's a moon. Can't remember which moon that is for. Miranda. I'm not sure what. Okay, this is Jupiter. Now I want to take it back to Earth here. So this would be. Oops. All right, so now that you're all nice and activated, pretty cool. All right, so let me see what I wanted to get into next with all this. Okay, okay, so I want to also connect this with the idea. Oh well, okay, so we just listened to Earth. So actually, let's get into the Schumann resonance. In case I'm sure a lot of you out there probably know of this, but just to clarify this for maybe some people that don't. The Schumann resonance, at any given moment, about 2,000 thunderstorms roll all over Earth, producing about 50 flashes of lightning every second. Each lightning burst creates electromagnetic waves that begin to circle around Earth, captured between Earth's surface and a boundary about 60 miles up. Some of the waves, if they have just the right wavelength, combine increasing in strength to create a repeating atmospheric heartbeat known as the Schumann resonance. This resonance provides a useful tool to analyze Earth's weather its electric environment, and even to help determine what types of atoms and molecules exist in Earth's atmosphere. Um, and so that's what a lot of people are talking about with the resonance of the Earth. The waves created by the lightning do not look like the up and down waves of the ocean, but they still oscillate with regions of greater energy and lesser energy. These waves remain trapped inside an atmospheric ceiling created by the lower edge of the ionosphere, a part of the atmosphere filled with charged particles, which begins about 60 miles up in the sky. In this case, the sweet spot for resonance requires the wave to be as long or twice 3 times as long, etc., as the circumference of the Earth. This is extremely low frequency wave, can be as low as 8 hertz, some 100,000 times lower than the lowest frequency radio waves used to send signals to your AM FM radio. As the wave flows around Earth, it hits itself again at the perfect spot such that the crests and trails are aligned. And voila, waves acting in resonance with each other to pump up the original signal. And while they'd been predicted in 1952, Schumann resonances were first measured reliably in the 1960s. Since then, scientists have discovered that variations in the resonances correspond to changes in the seasons, solar activity, activity in Earth's magnetic environment, and in water aerosols in the atmosphere. And that is via the NASA website. Okay, and let me see here. Oh, and I wanted to show actually a photo very quickly here of what these different frequencies look like for each planet. So here it shows. Let me see here. This is the first one here is Sirius, Earth, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, and I can't see the bottom here because of the ticker, but really interesting looking into those. So also I wanted to connect this with the idea of color and sound being similar. So I had an experience before where I just sort of had this download about how the planets seem to be and the stars seem to be kind of bouncing color and sound off each other, and that color and sound were the same. And I wanted to look into that and connect it with all this, where sound or color and light and sound can all be kind of interconnected. So this is an investigation into the relationship between sound and color. So the characteristics of sound and color. Sound is produced by mechanical means. Sound travels in waves and exists only within a medium. Light also travels in a wave-like manner, but light has electric and magnetic properties, and accordingly, it is an electromagnetic wave. Magnetic wave. Sound travels at 343. I'm not sure what ms means in air, and light travels through all mediums at about 300 million ms. Everyone has heard that light travels faster than sound. In fact, light travels 1 million times faster than sound. One way to describe waves is according to the distance between each peak of the wave, just as in a wave at sea. This distance is called the wavelength and is measured in meters. Another way to describe waves is according to how many peaks pass through a point in 1 minute and how many waves crash upon the shore in a second, and is labeled as cycles per second. So here is what that looks like here. Okay, so I'm going to skip over a part of this here. Okay, so sound blending and color blending. Sound and color light both have a wave-like character but are very different. They're vastly different in both size and speed. Both color and sound create a range of wavelengths, but color is not restricted to a single wavelength. The pitch of the note A has a frequency of 440 hertz, or as we said earlier, 432 hertz. If notes were sounded around the A, but of slightly smaller or greater frequencies, which would be the harmonic frequencies as we discussed earlier, the result would produce pulses in the sound in an unclear tone. As the size of difference in frequencies increase, the sound would be dissonant and very unpleasant to listen to for an extended period of time. Sound is not continuous in the sense. Color, on the other hand, is continuous. If a red wave were produced at one particular wavelength of light and slightly different wavelengths added into the color, the appearance would change subtly and the eye would start to notice the red deepening or lightening depending upon the color being added. There is not a dissonance in color blending as there is in sound blending of similar notes. This is because of the continuous nature of light and the step nature of sound. Um, let me just Okay, so there is actually a lot of research into people who experience color and sound kind of as the same thing, and that is synesthesia. The word synesthesia comes from the Greek words syn meaning together and aestheus meaning perception. Synesthesia literally means cross sensing, one of the senses being triggered by another sense. Sorry, one second here. So a synthetic might hear colors, taste sounds, and see smells or any combination of the senses. Does this phenomenon offer any insight into the relationship between sound and color, particularly from individuals who hear colors? There has been significant study of the phenomenon of synesthesia, and some light has been brought to the subject. Female and left-handed people are typically synthetic, synesthetic. Ratios of women to men synesthetes have been reported at 3 to 1 and even as high as 8 to 1. A typical feature of synesthesia is that the particular sensations, the color blue associated the pitch C, are consistently experienced. Whatever sensations the subject experiences are always the same sensations, the same taste, sights, sounds, smells, and touches. These sensations frequently enhance memory and are directly combined with a person's memory functions. Synesthesia is reported to run in families, and it is not an abnormal phenomenon but happens in low frequency. A current understanding of synesthesia is that it is a premature experience of perception, like tapping into a signal and viewing it before it reaches the television screen. Very interesting. Synesthesia has been known to medicine for 300 years. Traditional ideas about the experience have consisted of crossed wire explanation. Somehow, the sensory information is switching to a new channel and showing up in a different sense. Many studies are underway today, and much information has been gathered about synesthesia. Richard Cytowick diagnoses 5 characteristics of synesthesia on his article Phenomenology and Neuropsychology. And the 5 characteristics are involuntary experience, projection of sensations, sensations are durable and generic, sensations are memorable, and sensations are emotional and poetic. The first characteristic is that the experiences are involuntary and passive. The subject does not control them but experiences them as they happen. The second characteristic means that the experiences of synesthesia are not do not occur inside one's mind. Moreover, they are perceived to take place within the person's personal space. And so I can go on with this here, but continuing over here, hearing colors is quite a common experience among synesthetes. The perceptions of colors associated with particular sounds has been found to be consistent among individuals, but not between individuals, but no common set of color and sound associations existent between the sorry, this was not read right. So basically what it's saying here is that a lot of these people that are experiencing these color or sound and colors are experiencing the same sounds with the same colors. So I find that really interesting because it seems that these people are tapping into something here that maybe science hasn't quite understood or figured out yet in relation to sound or color and light. And I think there is something to that that we still need to figure out. And I want to end this show today with this article here on ancient technology and the possibility of us using technology in ancient times that had to do with sound. Okay, so pyramid and power of the dolmens. Line of sight from the front of several of the dolmens in Montana is the peak of a pyramid shaped mountain, just like the 81 dolmens in Bulgaria. These dolmens are energy transmitters and relay stations. The Montana dolmens are lined up on the dot to a straight Earth energy grid line. They are positioned at the sides of mountains starting at the Nazca, Peru to Angkor Wat major Earth energy grid line that crosses Montana. Gold, uranium, copper, silver, and huge quartz crystals are mined in the immediate location of the Montana dolmens. Electromagnetic ultrasonic frequency emitted from the top of the Bosnia pyramid is measured at 28 kHz, which is generated from the origin point below the pyramid of the sun at a depth of 2,440 meters. Studies of the Bosnian pyramid of the sun performed by Dr. Oldfield showed that electromagnetic frequencies generated above the pyramids have a more vertical orientation, which is believed to be an unusual fact since the electromagnetic patterns that occur over formations such as natural hills and mountains usually have a horizontal orientation. Negative ions and healing properties are off the charts at the Bosnian pyramids. Different measurements made in the underground labyrinth of the tunnels have shown an enormous concentration of negative ions, atoms, or molecules that have more electrons than protons in its nucleus. Surprisingly, reaching levels of up to 40,000 ions per cubic centimeter located at a distance of 200 meters from the inside. The very shape of the pyramid is an amplified receiver or resonator of various kinds of energy fields, i.e., electromagnetic waves, cosmic rays, electrical discharges, gravitational waves, etc., surrounding our planet and which are in the air around and within the pyramid. And so here's some other examples of these technologies, these ancient technologies. So this is the Montana dolmen, and then this is a crystal pyramid found under the Bermuda Triangle. This is the Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia. And the Tablet of Shamash demonstrating Cymatic technology, which I talked about earlier. And just look at that image there. If you can zoom in on that, maybe pretty interesting. And so here's a correlation, and I noticed this flying over Egypt when I first went there, or when I went there last. And it shows here the ancient sites are prototypes for computer circuit boards. So this is an aerial photo of Persepolis, Iran, and this is a computer circuit board. And think about this when you're looking over the pyramids, is pretty much the same idea. Here's the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, Greece, and here's a computer circuit board. So pretty interesting. And timeless patterns of electromagnetic conductivity. Circular towers at the Montana megaliths were the prototype for similar standing circular towers in ancient temples such as the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, Greece. Built to harness, and by the way, maybe some of you know, maybe you don't, Apollo is the god of music, so it makes sense that that would be there. So built to harness and conduct electromagnetic earth energy on specific vortex sites, these ancient towers and connecting walls are replicated in a computer motherboard, which also channels electricity and stores vast amounts of information in quartz crystal chips. Large crystals have been found at the Montana megaliths which are hexagon shaped, just like the computer motherboard towers in the circuit pattern. Flowing water is also an essential element, therefore, the Montana megalith structures are often built above rivers, ancient riverbeds, or over aquifers. And here is a photo of Pueblo Bonita, Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, and a computer circuit board design. While visiting Chaco Canyon, the person who wrote this article's husband and her were perplexed by the very small square cubicles with high walls. It made no sense that people would actively live in these cells. Research confirmed that 10 massive buildings with a total of over 3,000 rooms, not intended for residential use, were built in a 250 years time period. So, was Chaco Canyon a stellar transport facility? Michael Tellinger recently presented the most fascinating theory that ancient sites were built as giant energy production complexes like the schematics of computer circuit boards. Many megalithic and sacred ancient sites are fractal patterns of modern technology. As you study the aerial photos, notice that there are channels connecting the various components. So the layout of the three main pyramids and Teotihuacan, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Teotihuacan, Teotihuacan, incredibly resemble a modern day circuit board with processors. This detail is unique to this place, and like many other details, can only be appreciated from the sky. Placement of these ancient monuments was not random. Mathematical, geometrical, and geographical influences are obvious. And so, I mean, this is crazy here. This is the site, obviously the ancient site, and this is a circuit board. Crazy. Um, so the next permutation of this concept is to construct a computer board from the schematics demonstrated by the layouts of ancient sites and see what that leads. So ancient technology, metal constructs. And here's a graphic of supposedly what Atlantis looks like. Here's an iron pillar of Delphi in India. My theory is that there are still remnants of applied ancient technology of Atlantis metallurgy and perhaps even examples of the technology itself preserved as metal constructs that do not rust or deteriorate. Graham Hancock writes about the details with which Plato describes the circular construction of Atlantis and then describes the outer walls. The entire circuit of the wall, which went around the outermost zone, they covered with a coating of brass. In the circuit of the next wall, they covered with tin, and the third, which encompassed the citadel, flashed with red light of auriculum. Graham continues, nobody now knows what metal the fabled auriculum of Atlantis was, since Plato tells us that it survived in his day only in name. The incredible rust-resistant iron pillar of Delhi in India, which does not seem to rust despite being over 1,000 years old. Klaus Dona describes two metal towers that are 5,400 meters under the ocean near Easter Island. The largest tower is 4,000 meters, and there are concrete and steel type constructs at that site. And so here's a look at ancient stone circles in comparison. Measurements of the circumference of Stonehenge indicate that it was constructed to resonate at the frequency of 10 hertz, which is the alpha wave frequency of the human brain. Advanced ancient civilizations used the resonant frequencies of sound as the source of energy. Tesla proved that specific sound frequencies broadcast from a tower created pure electromagnetic energy. So, what if stone circles for centuries have been deliberately designed to resonate in specific frequencies as machines that operate by self activating software? And that's a quote by Linda Moulton Howe. A team of researchers from London's Royal College of Art, RCA, have discovered that the stones used to construct Stonehenge hold musical properties, and when struck, sound like bells, drums, and gongs. It suggested that these properties could be the reason why the builders were willing to travel so far to source the stones from Wales and bring them to the site in Salisbury Plain, England. And then here's a look at Göbekli Tepe. According to ground penetrating radar, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey contains over 300 T-shaped carved pillars standing within 16 stone circles covering over 30 acres. There have been no tools, pottery, or other signs of human habitation found on the site. Göbekli Tepe was created over 12,000 years ago and then purposely filled with sand 1,000 years later. So, stone circles and Adam's calendar in South Africa. And this is a quote by Michael Tellinger. Once they were built, the stone circles in southern Africa never stop ringing, creating free energy from Mother Earth, pure sound using the frequency of Gaia. The stone circles create gigahertz of electromagnetic energy. Lisa Cooper posted on Facebook her brilliant correlations regarding the diatonic scale in relation to the megalithic sites. The most compelling thing about this data for me is the relationship between Adams, Inky's calendar, and Great Zimbabwe. Michael Tellinger was the one who made the connection between the ancient city and gold mining activities in South Africa. And you can find this in his comments about it in many YouTube videos. When I calculated the ratio of the distance between the calendar and Great Zimbabwe, I was totally puzzled. The ratio is 144 to 7, and that isn't a part of a diatonic scale. A good night's sleep let my subconscious solve the problem for me. The answer was clear: 12 total notes on the scale, which is C, C sharp, D, D sharp, so on, and 7 natural notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. The ratio between Adam's calendar and Great Zimbabwe is 122 to 7. That's 12 major scales made up of 12 notes, each of the 7 natural notes. Tens of thousands of stone circles in southern Africa form cymatic symbols. The stones ring like bells, creating standing waves. According to Michael Tellinger, the stone circles were part of an ancient system to produce sound waves into the atmosphere by using a device, sound laser beam, what we call today Sazer, needed for gold mining. And I've actually seen Michael Tellinger present this in person many years in a row at Contact in the Desert. It's been a while since I've seen him in person, but definitely interesting to see how his research with this has evolved over the years. So Adam's calendar in South Africa marks the time of what is thought to be the oldest civilization on planet Earth. Adam's calendar is positioned on a nodal point of the energy grid. Adam's calendar is the flagship among these ruins because we can date this monolithic calendar with relative certainty to a time before the flood event some 13,000 years ago and at least 160,000 years of age based on a number of scientific evaluations. The shape of the circular ruins are very specific and unique because each circle represents the somatic shapes of the sound energy as it appears on the surface of planet Earth at that point. This energy was amplified by simple understanding of harmonics and utilized in the same way that we generate and use laser and Sazer beam technology today. So, and then the rest of this kind of gets into what I have already talked about here. But I find this article extremely fascinating. And here's a look at, kind of a graphic look at the musical spiral of frequency, color, and light. Like I said, I feel that this is something that was a technology we had before that we are tapping back into. There's a lot more to this article, and there's so much more I can talk about with today's show, but I'm just going to let you finish up the research on that. So I hope you all enjoyed tonight's show. I'm going to go back and look through the comments for a bit here. Good to see everyone here. Oh, good to see you, Jermaine. Haven't heard from you in a while. Happy holidays. So yeah, just going back through everything here. And it's really great to see you all joining me on tonight's show. Really appreciate seeing everyone in the comments. So before I go ahead and end here, I hope you all found tonight's show interesting. I hope you learned something, or maybe you didn't. Maybe you connected some dots. But definitely really fascinating. This is something I could even talk more on, but I feel this is important to talk about because I think there's a lot of technology, ancient technology that we haven't tapped into that we could really develop with this information. So before I end tonight's show, I want to remind you all to please go to my website, shamanspears.com, and check out my art if you want to support me in my show. It's a great way to do it. And basically, it's like donating to me in my show, but getting a gift in return. I do next day shipping on all orders, and Shaman Spears make really great gifts. I actually autograph them all also, so they're all autographed by yours truly, and they're all uniquely handcrafted. I never make any to the same. And there's a few left from my last two collections, and I'll be working on the new collection is almost done. And thanks, Marvin. I really appreciate the super chat there. Thank you so much. So, I'm not sure next Wednesday. Don't know if that's the first or what day of the week that is or whatever. So, um, please hit the notification bell if you want to know if I'm going live. But I think I should be going live next Wednesday, hopefully. So, thanks everyone for joining me tonight. And until next time on Apollo's Odyssey, over and out.